I think it's because maybe if I raise my eyes to this level, it should be fine. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So I will speak now about the 1990s. Now this is a decade which I have a personal connection with, so I kind of view it differently from the other decades in a very qualitative sense. So I can't really be totally objective about this. But I mean, what can you say though? Like, even comparing it to sort of the 80s, or obviously the decade that followed, the noughties, or the zeros, 2000s, whatever you want to call it. I just feel the 90s reached that sort of perfection in terms of the balance between sort of modernity and that retro feel, like especially with music. I mean, with TV and movies. Like you had the classic Nickelodeon. You had like The Simpsons was at its peak. You had if you grew up in Australia, we had a lot of really classic children's television as well as the British ones. But we had shows like Lift Off or Around the Twist and shows like Bar Bar, Tintin. You know, they were great shows. Like they weren't. They were very. They had like a solid plot that you could really get into. Like when they were having adventures, you could really. Hey, it really fed your sense of wonder. I think. Whereas I find a lot of kids shows today are just so goofy, and the plot just doesn't really go anywhere, and the characters act just so silly, and there's tries too hard to be funny. Like a lot of the old ones, while they were dramatic, they still had that comic relief to them. And music, the 90s, I just felt it was a golden era. Like it's sort of the revival of sort of more alternative type rock. Like obviously you had grunge, but then before that you had kind of two streams. You had like the more punk stream with the Pixies, which obviously influenced grunge a lot, but you also had shoegazers. You had sort of My Bloody Valentine. You had the Stone Roses, the Manchester scene. Manchester, you had sort of house music coming up, and the dance music in the 90s. I just found it was just really fun and upbeat, and I mean it was quite hedonistic, but still very enjoyable. So, and yeah, not to mention sort of the fads, which were more something that children were interested in, such as myself. But I mean, a lot of adults as well were into sort of things like yo-yos or Tamagotchis or um, Pogs or glow caps. But yeah, it just seemed like the 90s were just so much. Well, obviously, as a child, they seemed a lot more carefree and. But a little simpler, sort of. The video games were also really good. You had. I mean, I'm not saying games today aren't, but I mean, just that simplicity. Like, you'd get. I remember just going over to my friend's house and sort of playing Mortal Kombat or something after school, and that was just really like the simplicity of it, or just sort of spending um, school holidays just on a one very single-minded mission to sort of complete Donkey Kong or Mario or whatever. So yeah, that's why I freaking love 90s and the 90s, and I'm proud to be a 90s kid.